Welcome to the Yellow Jacket Experience. I'm your host, Seth Dussault, and this is episode number 9. And joining me today is Kacie Allison of our softball and triathlon team. Kacie, how are we doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Kacie's going into her senior year. Has been a member of the softball team. This will be her 4th year, and her 2nd year as a member of the triathlon team comes to us from, if I'm remembering correctly, Woodbourne, New York.
Yep, correct.
Perfect. Good to know. Occasionally I get something right. Doesn't happen often. So let's go back to little Kacie Allison. How did you first get into softball, and maybe what other sports did you play when you were a kid?
So I started playing softball, t-ball, little league. I wasn't one of those crazy people that started off playing baseball. I played softball all the way up. I also played a lot of basketball. I played ever since I was in 2nd grade up until my senior year of high school. I played on the varsity team. I tried soccer for 2 years and really didn't like it. So I was mainly just softball and basketball. And I played, softball took up a lot of my time when I was younger because I played a lot of travel ball. I started playing travel ball when I was 12 years old, and then I played all the way up. In this past summer, I played travel ball still. So I've been very, very dedicated to softball mostly for my entire childhood.
So you also play basketball, though. What was that experience like, and maybe how do things from basketball translate over to softball, and how did that experience maybe make you a better athlete all the way around?
Well, I think being a multi-sport athlete definitely helps any athlete, because, you get that the varying athletic abilities, and basketball kept me in really good shape. There's a lot of running involved. There's a lot of the same, strength, power movements between sports. So training for basketball and playing in those games in the winter really kind of prepared me for, softball in the spring. And I just enjoyed having that break from softball because, you know, burnout is a real thing, and I didn't, experience that personally, but just being able to, take a break from softball for a little bit and try something different. Basketball was that other outlet that I had. I was still able to work hard and get my movement and exercise in, and training, but it wasn't all softball, so that was fun for me.
Makes perfect sense, and you hear so much from coaches that playing multiple sports, no matter what sport you play, is always a good thing. So obviously had that kind of impact on you. The travel ball experience, since you've brought it up, what's that like, and how is that different from maybe your middle school, high school, varsity kind of experience? Like what sets it apart, and what makes it worth it, other than obviously the opportunity to play more games?
Yeah. Well, for me, I went to a really small high school. The competition was not that great. So travel ball definitely was that step up, and that really helped me get to a higher level of competition. So, you know, I would see better pitching and face better hitters as a pitcher in travel ball than I did in high school. So the travel ball was really kind of what set me up for college more than high school did. But of course I enjoyed my high school experience. I loved who I played with, and it was really fun. All the 5 years that I played, varsity softball for my high school, but travel ball was definitely where I really set my game up and had that good competition.
Now, when you talk about playing multiple sports, you play multiple positions within your sport. You're a really good pitcher, obviously, as the rest of the hitters in the NE10 know all too well. You also play first base, and you're very good there too. So how did you end up playing 2 positions, and how is preparing yourself for a game and training different when you're focusing on your pitching versus playing first base?
So my first travel ball coach had always, he kind of pushed to me that I needed to be try to play multiple positions on the field, because that makes you more profitable for college teams. Because, you know, if I was an ace pitcher, like a stud, you know, maybe I'd be able to sell myself and be like, oh, I'm just a pitcher. But, you know, I also love to hit. And in college, not a lot of pitchers hit unless, you know, they have coaches who see that they can hit and they know that they should put them in the lineup. But not a lot of the time is that the case. So, you know, I always wanted to make myself more profitable and try to get myself in the lineup somehow. And that was playing multiple positions. And in high school, I played outfield, and travel ball, I played outfield as well. And I came to AIC and I was primarily a pitcher, but Coach Shalise, you know, decided she wanted to put me at first base too when I wasn't pitching, and I loved that. I played first base all through travel ball in high school too, so I was used to that. And then, you know, like I said, I always love, you know, getting my spot in the lineup. Of course, when I earn it, but
Well, it's rare. It's rare to see number 14 not in the lineup. So I'm certainly glad for that. And you mentioned that pitchers don't normally hit, which is a, you know, sort of a true thing with baseball more than with softball, but definitely, as you said, with softball as well. You still do get the opportunity to hit, though, usually, even when you're pitching.
mm,
And how does that affect you during the game, where, you know, a lot of pitchers are just focused on, as you said, on pitching and nothing else, and you're also thinking of what you can do at the plate?
I have to say it is very hard mentally to handle both at once, because pitching it's a big job, obviously. Like
Mhm.
you're controlling the game basically. And hitting is all mental. Like you really have to be in the zone to be able to, you know, go up, say your first at bat, you ground out or something, and then the next at bat you have to be thinking like, okay, this is what I got to do. These are the adjustments that I have to make. And it's a lot to think about, you know, between pitching and hitting. And it's hard to make that transition, but you just kind of have to, you have to be in that solid mental state where you're like, okay, now this inning or this half of the inning, I'm focused on pitching. I'm not worried about what I did in my last at bat. Not worried about what I'm going to do next if I'm on deck or whatever. You know, I'm pitching. I'm thinking about pitching. And then once the inning's over and we're going hit, you know, that's my focus. I'm focusing on, you know, doing my job at the plate. But it's definitely, you know, I'm still trying to figure it out how to get both to be on 100% at the same time. But you know,
Well, you usually don't have too much trouble based on the batting averages. So obviously something's working for you. You brought up Coach Shalise. Um, how did you end up at AIC? And what made you decide this is where I want to go? This is where I want to play ball?
so I was recruited by Coach Dudek, um, and I had gone to a bunch of, you know, big college camps where there was a bunch of coaches. And I I actually have a family friend that was an alumni at AIC, and she was a pitcher, Tanya Ackerley. I'm not sure if you know who she is, but she a while back. But
Yeah.
um, she had told me about AIC, and you know, I just kind of, at the time I was doing my college searches where I was like, oh, what colleges have sports management? Because that's what I was gonna study at the time, and I was like, oh, let me see if AIC has sports management, and they did, and I was like, oh, maybe I would, you know, be into going there. And I, you know, was emailing with Coach Dudek. I saw her at a couple camps. We had a couple great conversations. I came for one of their skills camps, and I got a tour of the school, and I got to meet the team. And I just felt like the school felt, the community felt like really close knit, and everybody was really nice. And the, you know, the health sciences department was, you know, definitely a given for me. Um, and the team just felt like they had fun with everything. And Coach Dudek was really nice and promising and everything. So no, I definitely felt like AIC was home.
So you were brought in by Coach Dudek. Now you have Shalise Tolentino as your coach. What's it like as a student athlete at the collegiate level when there's a change in coaching and you have a new head coach come in? And how has that changed the experience for you and changed the experience for the team?
So I we had that change of coaches at the end of my freshman year. So that was kind of a shock to me as a young freshman, kind of like, oh, well, what if this new coach comes in and, wipes out the entire team and I don't get my spot back. So it was kind of like a little bit scary not knowing who we were going to get in, or I didn't have much experience. I didn't have a great freshman season, so I was a little worried for myself. But that really, not just me, but everybody on the team, all our younger players, all our returners for those years, really had to dig deep and work hard to earn our spots back and to earn the respect of the new coach. And I think Coach Shalise coming in was the best thing that could have happened for us. She's awesome. She brings a lot of good energy. She makes us work hard. She knows her stuff. She knows how to put a good group of girls on the field and in the lineup. And definitely that transition was hard for all of us because it was like, we didn't know what to expect, but I think it turned out to be really good for our team.
Now, last season, you go down to Florida, you start playing some games. I think we got 10 games in, and then you guys get the call, it's over, we're done. What was that experience like? And how do you maybe use something like that to motivate you and to get you to where you need to go, and maybe the team as well, this upcoming season?
So we had played that last day that we played. We'd finished our last game for the day, or actually we had just started our last game for the day, and we had heard parents on the sidelines talking like, oh, it doesn't look good. All these teams have been canceling the rest of their seasons and they're all going home early, and we were all worried. But the game was still going on, and everybody was kind of like, going through the motions. And I brought everybody together before the game, and I was like, we should play this game like it's the last game that we'll play. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer for the team and
No doubt.
give us bad luck or anything, but it doesn't look good. It looks like this might be our last game that we play. We played that game, and I believe we pulled out the win of that game. And sad story short, that after that game later that day was when we got the call, and Coach brought us all together at one of the houses in Florida and had to tell us and break the news that our seasons were canceled and we had to go home. And it was really upsetting. Everybody on the team was really, really upset, and especially the seniors. I felt so bad for the seniors because I think, but that the big thing that this has taught all of us is that you don't know when the last game you're ever going to play is. You don't know the last time you're ever going to step on the field or get up to bat. And even now, like, it's not certain that how many games we'll get to play this spring, which means me as a senior, I might not get my last few games in the AIC jersey. So you never know. So every time you step on the field, every time you go to lift, every time you have a team practice, you have to make the most of it because you don't know how much time you have left, especially spending time with your teammates and playing the game that we've all worked so hard to get to this point and love to play. You don't know when it's all going to be over. So
Yeah, from my own perspective, I think I've told you this before. Our home opener for softball was supposed to be my birthday.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a birthday present that I was really looking forward to that I didn't get to have. So we'll hopefully we will have a season this spring though. And for you, it may well be 2 seasons this spring, because not only are you a softball player, you're on the triathlon team. First of all, how did that happen? Take us through how Kacie Allison, the starting pitcher slash first baseman for the softball team, ends up doing triathlon.
So you know this already about me, but I'm very into working out and fitness, and you know, uh, when I was told that there was going to be a triathlon team, my first thought was like, oh my God, that would be so cool if I could do that. And but then, I came into realization and I was like, oh, there's no way I could do that. I don't want to do that. And then the fall of my junior year, uh, Coach Davis came up to me and he asked me because, word got around that I was interested, and, you know, and he was like, well, we really need another girl on the team that can, just compete and race for us in Virginia so that we can qualify the team for nationals, because we need 33 girls to finish the race to qualify for nationals. And, I was really hesitant at first. I was like, oh, you know, I don't have a lot of time to train. I don't really know how to swim. I've never ridden that type of bike before. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And he was like, oh, no, trust me. Like, I can get you ready for it. All you have to do is finish. You don't have to do anything crazy. Like, you can do it. Like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And Coach Shalise was really supportive of it too. She was like, oh, go do it. She was like, I'll support you 100%. Go be a dual sport athlete. Like, that's so cool. So I did it, and it was a really, really good experience. I ended up catching what they call the triathlon bug. That's what Coach Davis kind of referred to it as. And I finished the race in Virginia. That was a huge accomplishment for me. Barely finished. Like, by half a bike tire didn't get lapped by the Arizona State leading triathlete. But yeah, and then Arizona was a great experience. That was just fun, just being there for the team, even if the results didn't end up the way that I wanted it to. It was awesome to be there for Roz for her first finishing of a collegiate nationals, and being there with Gigi and Coach and you. It was a fun experience, and I loved it.
Yeah, that was a blast, and I'm really grateful that I got to be a part of that as well. The training for triathlon, obviously very different from training for softball. How does it compare? And how do you manage both? Because, it's not like the softball, normally triathlon's in the fall. It's not like the softball team's not playing fall ball, not like you're not working out with them. How do you balance all of that?
So the training is very vigorous, I would say. You have to swim, you have to bike, you have to run. And a lot of that is very endurance based, which is completely different from softball. As you know, softball is speed, power, strength. And triathlon, yeah, you need those things, but it's primarily just how long can you go? How much can you put your body through, basically. And so the training between those is very hard, because, and I'm trying to simplify it, not thinking of it from an exercise science standpoint, but the stimulus is very different. So if I'm training really heavily for endurance, my strength and power might lack in softball, and my speed. But if I'm, training more towards that, which is what I'm doing now, strength, speed, power, my endurance side might lack. So training both at the same time is really difficult, and I've been trying to figure out how to manage that so that I'm performing well in both. But definitely the coaches are very supportive of me. Coach Davis, he knows in the spring my focus is softball, and he caters to that. And same thing with Coach Tilly. She knows that in the fall she's 100% supportive of me for, if I have to miss a couple softball practices to make some triathlon workouts, or I have to go to a couple races or things like that, or maybe I'm just exhausted because I've had 2 practices already that day. She'll know not to take it as hard on me in practice, maybe. So they're very supportive of me, and that helps a lot. Definitely having all that support.
You're somebody who just is into fitness generally. Like, at least as long as I've known you, you've always been in the weight room, you know, I don't understand it, which, I mean, look at me, obviously I don't, but you know, you're the sort of person who's like, I'm going to go for a run because that sounds fun. You have an Instagram account even dedicated to your training. You post videos of workouts you do. So how did that come about? And what sort of impact do you want to have by putting that stuff up on social media, the different workouts and things that you do?
So when I came to AIC, I was originally sports management, like I told you, but when they introduced the exercise science program, I was like, wow, that seems really cool. That's really interesting. And I was originally, into working out and everything. I really started getting into that the junior, senior year of high school, but I wasn't super serious about it, and I didn't know really a lot about everything, nutrition and strength training and all that. So um, definitely learning more about it in classes in exercise science has really exploded my interest in this field. And I saw a huge difference in myself personally as an athlete utilizing all these things that I've learned. So that really sparked a huge interest in um, that field for me, and especially strength and conditioning. Like that's the main goal for me. That's what I'm going to do. That's the next step: graduate school, strength and conditioning, and become a strength and conditioning coach for a college someplace, and work with athletes. And the Instagram page started, I think, the summer after my freshman year. I started it, and it was kind of like almost like an accountability thing just for myself at first. And I don't have a lot of followers. I think I have like 400 something. And it's not like I want to be an Instagram influencer, or I want to be a fitness model. Like that's not the goal. I think it's more of, I just want to spread knowledge about strength and conditioning and how it pertains to athletes and training for your sport and eating properly to fuel your workouts and fuel your competitions. And I think I hope that it's inspired some people, but if not, if anything, it's just something that I can look back on for myself and be like, oh, I saw how far I came, and where I came from, uh, and how I got to be where I am now. And hopefully, I have a couple strength coaches who follow me and watch me. Maybe that'll help me make some good connections in the field professionally.
So exercise science major, as you've said that you switched to, the courses have obviously had an impact on you. How about some professors, maybe somebody who in your classes that you've had that you really like or really have enjoyed their courses, somebody, that has made an impact on you?
So the exercise science department it's very small, I would say. Um, but all the professors are amazing. Dr. Seifert, I had her since I started since she left this past semester. She was great, very energetic, very enthusiastic about exercise science, and all of her classes I had a blast with. I learned a lot from her. Dr. Lachowski is the director of the program. She's amazing. She does so much for this program and so much for the school. She's so supportive. She'd drop anything to help any student. She's so knowledgeable. All her classes, I've learned so much from her classes. And then Dr. Pfefferly, he's the head of the graduate program. I've had him for human biomechanics, and he's helped me a lot making connections in the field for my internships. And he's going to be our advisor for our internship this spring. He helped me get make a lot of good connections, and he's just a good person to talk to and ask for advice. So definitely the entire department there is just, they're so enthusiastic about their students and the school and the field, and they're just really supportive and helpful and everything.
So it sounds like you've had, over the course of your life, a lot of people that have had an impact on you, and you're hoping to have that kind of impact on other people going forward as a strength and conditioning coach, as an athlete, all those things. So the one question that we ask everybody who comes on this podcast, and I always say other than your parents, because I feel like that's too easy of an answer for most people. Who is someone that's been a significant influence in your life, and how did they have an impact on you?
So the first person that comes to mind, because we're talking AIC and softball and exercise science, strength and conditioning, Jamie Manus, you know her.
Oh
When
yeah.
I was a freshman, she was my senior catcher, and she was our captain, and she was just such a great leader. And when I came in as a freshman, I was not a leader. I was not vocal. I was very quiet. I was very timid. I still am very quiet and timid, but
I don't know about
okay, I try to. But um but she was my role model from the beginning as a freshman. Um and then, I watched her kind of, even after she graduated, she entered the graduate program for exercise science and was going to be a strength conditioning coach, and that's what I wanted to do. So it was kind of just like secretly following her and using her as a mentor in this field, and just kind of watching her succeed. And now she's an assistant strength and conditioning coach at Holy Cross, and she's doing great. She's doing big things up there. And um, I was reaching out to her. I ask her a lot of questions all the time. The other day, a couple months ago, actually, I reached out to her and was talking to her on the phone a lot, kind of asking her for some of the leadership and team bonding activities that we used to do when she was a senior and I was a freshman, because just kind of get some ideas of things that we can do with our team now. She's just definitely had a huge impact on me as a freshman, and then still as today, she's somebody that I can, always a phone call away if I have any questions about strength and conditioning. And she helped me get some internships, and definitely a huge role model in in life in general.
Yeah, Jamie definitely was awesome in the 4 years that I got to work with her here at AIC. So that's a fantastic answer. And now you're that person for a lot of people, I bet, especially with our young pitching staff. So Kacie Allison of the AIC softball and triathlon team, she'll be swimming, biking, running, pitching, hitting, and fielding at some sort of sporting event near you very soon this spring, hopefully. Kacie, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Always awesome to get to talk with you, obviously, and looking forward to seeing you compete in the spring.
Yeah. Thank you.